So, a demand curve is a function of three different economic aspects: the price of the own good, price of another good, and the income or the budget of the consumer. So, we've already talked about what happens if we change the own price. We change the price of hamburgers. What does it happen to the demand curve, or how does it create the demand curve for hamburgers? We talked about let's change income. How does that affect Ingles curve? How does that affect the demand curve? Well, what if we change the prices of another good? So we're going to look at changes in other prices now of a second commodity. So price changes in another good can shift the demand curve, and in certain cases will shift the demand curve. So let's talk about substitutes. Substitutes are two goods that can be consumed in place of each other. So think about beef and chicken as we go through this. This is going to be our example of substitutes, or beef and chicken. A rise in the price of one good will increase the consumption of another good, ceteris paribus. Remember, holding all else constant. So what happens as the price of beef goes up? Well, we see that people actually consume more chicken. What happens if the price of chicken goes up? We actually see people consume more beef. Because as the price of beef goes up relative to chicken, chicken is now cheaper. People will consume more chicken. So if the two goods are substitutes, if the price of good A increases, the demand for good B will rise. And essentially, it will shift the demand curve for good B to the right. So if the price of beef goes up, it's going to shift the demand curve for chicken to the right. Now, if the price of chicken goes up, it's going to shift the demand curve for beef to the right. Or if the price of beef falls, it's going to shift the demand curve for chicken to the left, indicating that they're actually going to consume less chicken. They're going to want less chicken. So, that's substitutes. What about complements? Well, what is a complement? They are two goods that are consumed together. So in this case, think about potatoes and gravy. Typically, we like to consume potatoes and gravy. If I'm going to sit down and enjoy a nice big steak or a nice chicken breast or something of that nature, I want potatoes and gravy right there with them. They complement each other really well. That's what a complement is. It's something that goes with something else that is consumed together. Pancakes and maple syrup are another complement. The list can go on and on. Biscuits and gravy are another complement. Those two are consumed together. You've got peanut butter and jelly are complements. You've got hamburgers and cheese, and hamburgers and bread, and hamburgers and hamburger buns. Those are all complements because they're typically consumed together. So complements are two goods that are consumed together. A rise in the price of one good will decrease the demand for the other good. So let's think about it this way. What happens if the price of potatoes goes up? Price of potatoes go up, you're not eating as many potatoes anymore, right? Then you don't need as much gravy. Your demand for gravy goes down. If you're not going to be eating potatoes, why do you need gravy? You're actually going to consume less gravy. So, as the price of good A, or as the price of good A rises, the demand for good B falls. As the price for potato rises, the demand for gravy will actually fall. If you think about syrup and pancakes, because those two go together really well, if the price of pancakes go up, you don't consume as much syrup. The demand for syrup goes down. If the price of syrup goes up, the demand for pancakes goes down. Because eating a dry pancake without any syrup, that's not as good as eating it with syrup. So, if the price of good A rises, the demand for good B falls. This will shift the demand curve to the left. So, if it's a substitute, if the price of good A goes up, it shifts the demand curve of good B to the right, meaning that people are going to demand good B more. If the price of good A rises and it's a complement, it's actually going to shift the demand curve to the left for good B. And it's actually going to encourage people to consume less of good B. Now there's another term, this independent goods. These independent goods are goods that the price change of one good does not affect the demand for another good. Think about French fries and Christmas trees. If the prices of French fries go up, do you think that's going to affect how many Christmas trees you buy? Or if the price of Christmas trees go up, does that really affect how many French fries you're going to buy? These two demand will be completely separate, and the price will not affect one or the other. These are independent goods. So substitutes, they're two goods that can be consumed in place of each other. Chicken and beef are substitutes. You've got beef and pork are substitutes. You've got Dr. Pepper and Sam's Cola. A lot of people like to say that Pepsi and Coca-Cola are substitutes. That's just not true. I mean, you're going to go with one or the other. They're not really substitutes because a lot of people will not switch. But in reality, there truly are substitutes. We talk about coffee and tea. Those are substitutes. They're both caffeinated drinks that can be consumed in place of each other. Complements are two goods that are consumed together. Think about pancakes and syrup. Think about biscuits and gravy, or potatoes and gravy, or mashed potatoes and gravy. The list goes on. Independent goods are those that do not affect the demand of the other good.